Commercial GCs, this is how to better track, manage, and report on your milestones and consequently your cash flow. By the way, if you're a commercial GC doing between $10 to $50 million a year in revenue and you'd like systems to improve the profitability and cash flow of your projects, check out the link in the description below. Anyway, as you can see here, I'm inside of a system. Now, this system is called Monday.com, and we have built an array of different components for commercial GCs to manage different areas of their business, such as RFIs, change orders, the billing process. And in today's video, we're going to be focusing on the milestone process, or more importantly, reporting around milestones. So you can see here, we can go ahead and create milestones in association with a particular project. We have an expected completion date for the project, or that milestone, should I say, the value of the milestone. We have the status, and then the project manager who is responsible for that particular milestone as well. And then we have the various stages of the milestone process. So from upcoming, as in the milestone has not even started yet, to an active milestone, so the team are actively working on completing that milestone, to approved milestones, meaning that the client has signed off on the completion of the milestone, but they haven't paid for it yet. And then build milestones, when the client has actually paid and you as a business have received money in the bank, and that can be approved and that can be billed, should I say, or completed, signed off. That milestone is now completely finished. Now, this milestone process ties directly in with our billing process. When the status of a milestone is equal to approved, it automatically creates a new billing record for the finance team to prepare, send the invoice, then monitor the different stages of the invoice up until that invoice is marked as paid. And we already have a billing dashboard here. So we can see billing dashboard, number of new invoices not sent, new invoices not sent value, invoices sent not paid value, average time to pay an invoice, 90 days overdue amount. We've got cash flow set up and everything else. But in today's video, we just want to set up reporting functionality for our milestones. So this is primarily focused on cash flow, and the cash flow expected based on the expected completion date. We'll look at some other data points as well. So what we're going to do is go press plus button in the top left hand corner. We're going to create a new dashboard, and this is going to be called our milestones dashboard. And then I'm going to go ahead and press create dashboard. This of course can be main, so accessible to anyone, or private only you and select individuals. Now we then want to go ahead and connect our milestones board to our milestones dashboard. So this milestones board is the data that's going to feed into the dashboard. And I'm going to go ahead and press done. Now, one other thing I'm going to do just to tidy things up is create a new folder, and just call it milestones. And then I'll put in here both the milestones and milestones dashboard kind of data points or areas, just so it's a little bit cleaner. So we need to go ahead and begin to create some reports that's going to make it easier for people looking to manage the milestone process. They can see what's going on at a click of a button. That's ultimately the purpose of reports, right? So we have these data points: upcoming, value, expected completion date, the type. We also have date created, date billed, time to bill. We've got build value, approved value as different data points as well. Just restrict the column editing there. We could also have time to approve an invoice, and then time between approving an invoice to billing an invoice, which I think actually might be a worthwhile thing to do. So we can add some new data points in this process as well. But firstly, let's just go ahead and look at the approved milestones that haven't been billed. So the value, and we're just going to go numbers column, approved milestones, milestone amount. So again, I'll just remind you, the approved milestone amount is the amount of money that is outstanding to be paid, but the milestone is being completed. So we want to be able to see the value, and I'll go one by one value, just go customize in the $sign, and then I'll go manual 2 decimal places. And then the only group that we want is the approved milestones group. And it's going to show us the outstanding balance of approved milestones. We'll be able to see that at a click of a button. So now I can see at the moment we have no amount of money in the approved milestones. If I just change this back to approved, or at least put it in the group, obviously when the status changes it moves to the group, but we can see here now there's $180,000 that's approved. What I would also probably want to look at is the active and also the upcoming as well. So we would have the active milestone amount, again, it's just helpful data points to be able to see what's going on inside of the business. So I can see here if we go to one by one, again, value, customize the $sign or whatever currency you're working in, then decimal places, 2 decimal places in this instance. And then the only group we want is active milestones. So I can see at the moment there are no active milestones. No one seems to be working on anything, which is not, not great news, right? And then I might move this here, put this here, and then I might also just add another numbers column, and this is going to be, oh, what am I doing? Made a right mess of this now. I'm going to make that upcoming milestone. So upcoming milestone. So now I can easily see what's actually in the pipeline as well. So I can go settings again, one by one, value, customize, currency, whatever currency you're working in, manual, 2 decimal places. And then the only group that we want here is the upcoming milestones. Awesome. Fantastic. So some basic data points. Now, the next thing that I'm going to want to look at is TTB, which is time to bill. So this is between the date created, so the date in which this milestone was added to the system, and then the time in which it takes between it was created to the day it was actually built. So when the status gets changed to build, it will automatically populate the date in which it was built, and then we get something called TTB. Okay. So I want to go to my milestone dashboard, a new numbers column, and I call this average, and I want the average time to bill. So between a milestone being created and it being paid for, I can then get the average amount of time that this would typically take, or it would take, across all of the milestones that we've ever completed for any project by any project manager. So I go one by one, and then I go TTB, then I want to go customize, and I probably would want to put the unit as days, but you don't necessarily have to. And then it's going to be an average, and then manual, and I would just do 0 decimal places. You could have 1 decimal place if you wanted to be fancy, but it's entirely up to you. So now if I go to my milestones board, I'm just going to change this from, or let's change date created. Let's imagine it was created 1st of September. You can see the TTB for this was 32 days. If I also then move this one into its a correct group, in fact, this was milestone 1. Let's imagine this was created in July. It's taken 94 days between the milestone being created in the system to actually being billed. And then I can go and look at the milestone dashboard, and I can see an average time to bill of 63 days here. So that's, again, very helpful information. If the more data that you collect on this, the better you can begin to forecast cash, for example. So now we have some basic numbers columns. The next thing that I'm going to probably want to begin to look at is some reports. So, or at least charts, some slightly fancy charts, shall we say. So let's look at all of the milestones by project and then the status of those milestones. So I'll go add widget, and then I want to go to, let's say, chart in this instance. And I'm not sure what I'm going to name this yet, but let's just go ahead and set it up anyway. So our chart type is actually going to be a stacked bar graph. Our x-axis is going to be the projects. Our stack by is going to be the billing status, and then the y-axis is probably, I'd change it from count of items to the value. Okay, so you can see here for project 1 there has been $630,000 that have been paid. If I go to, and then if we go to our milestone dashboard, just go to settings again, and then on the stack by, I would, or I think it's on customize, I would show empty values as well. That's the other option that we want to make sure that we have on here. So x-axis is the project, stack by the billing status, the y-axis being the value. And then on our milestones, we should have, this is upcoming, this is for project number 1. I don't know why that's then not showing. If I just hit refresh, it should show me, and what I'm looking to see is essentially the total amount of money associated with a particular project. This is showing all groups. Why is it not showing me customize, show empty values, show cumulative, show top and bottom values? This is very odd. Choose if empty values should be displayed in your chart of the x-axis, which it should. So I don't know why it's not populating. That's very odd. The value stack by expanded stack, very strange. I can't actually say for why that's not working. That is very odd indeed. But it should, what I'm trying to see here is all of the different milestones associated with this project. So if I maybe change this to active, this will give you a good example. So that's going to move to the group active, and it's still not working for whatever reason. I think there might be a bug with this. Let's go ahead and just delete it and create a new one. Oh dear, Monday. So chart again. Let's try again. There we go. Okay, so settings, go chart type, stacked bar graph. Our x-axis is going to be the project. Our stack by is going to be the status. There we go. And then our y-axis is going to be the value, as you can see here. And then I would customize this, and I would want to show empty values as well. So now I can see all of the milestones associated with a particular project and the status of those milestones relating to the amount as well. So I can see for project number 1, there's a total of $850,000 worth of milestones in the system. And I can see that 630,000 has already been billed. We've got 220,000 that's active. Okay. So I'll call this milestone status by project and hit enter. Awesome. You also don't necessarily need to include build if you don't want to, but that, again, that's entirely up to you. Awesome. So what other reports can we then go ahead and create? If I go to my milestones board, let's have a little look here. We've got expected completion date and then a value. So what I would probably want to look at in this instance, and let's just change this to active and this to active as well. I would want to look at cash flow. So I would go to add widget chart, and then I'll go milestone cash flow projection. So this is based on when do we anticipate the milestone is going to be completed, and then what's the value of the amount of the milestone based on the date that's going to come in. So our x-axis is going to be the expected completion date, and our y-axis is going to be the value in this particular instance. And then I would customize this. You can add benchmark lines if you want, but the only thing that we don't really want to see is build milestones. So we've got upcoming, active, approved, and then build. So now I can see, and this is quite rudimentary. Again, this can be expanded on. So if you are a commercial GC doing between $10 to $50 million a year in revenue and you want systems like this, this can be slightly more advanced. But now I have cash flow. So November, we've got $180,000 that should be coming in for a milestone. We've got $450 in December, and then we've got $220,000 in January. Now this would be the total value of all the milestones expected to be completed in that particular month. Okay. What you could then also do if you wanted to is you could stack the bar graph, stack it by, and then you could stack it by the project. So you'd be able to see the value by the project. So to give you an example of what that would then look like, if I go to milestones, and let's just imagine I've pulled a new milestone out of thin air, like absolute magic. But then what I'm going to do is just associate this with project number 2 instead, and then go to my milestones dashboard. You'll see how it stacks. So I can see this is due in for project number 2. This is due in project number 1. Awesome. So this is milestone cash flow projection and then by project, or you can have it just separate. So irrespective of project. So let me literally just duplicate this, and then I'll remove the stack. So 3 dotted buttons, and then I'll just go standard bar graph instead. So that's milestone cash flow by projection. And then that's milestone cash flow projection by project. So if I move that down here, I'll move that back up here. And then what I can also look at is milestone cash flow projection by project manager. So I could go milestone cash flow projection by, I think I spelled all of that wrong. Yeah, I have indeed. Cash flow by project manager, and hit enter. Milestone cash flow by projection. Come on, man. There we go. Projection by project manager, or just put PM. There we go. Well, I mean, we got there in the end, right? So we go 3 dotted button in this instance, settings, and then the chart type again is going to be a stacked bar. X-axis is going to be the expected completion date of the milestone. And then our stack by in this instance is going to be the PM. And then our Y-axis is going to be the value of the milestone. So if I go to customize, I can mess around with anything else. I can choose to show or not show, let's say, build milestones if we don't necessarily want to see that on our cash flow. So I can see milestone cash flow projection by project manager. You'll notice it all says Nick Boardman. However, if I go to my projects board, and let's say I change the project manager of this to, and I'm going to invite CRM crew development to this board here. So then I can go ahead and add CRM crew development. So that's just an example user. So imagine CRM crew development is a project manager. I can then go to my dashboard, my milestone dashboard, and I can see the milestone cash flow projection by PM. So I can see what's going on by project manager. So I can see there's $180,000 in November due in that's for a project that's being managed by CRM crew development, which is some other PM. And then there's $180,000 due in November for a project that's being managed by Nick Boardman. Now, of course, project managers will be managing multiple projects at any given time, and then they'll have multiple milestones associated with each of the projects that they're managing. So this will give you a really good picture of what's going on across all of the project managers. Now, again, another thing that we probably want to look at is we would want to see the status of our milestones by the project manager as well. So I could go ahead and add widget. This is going to be chart type. Again, unsure of the name of this one yet, but if we go settings, and then we would want to go standard bar graph, I think. Status is going to be our x-axis. Actually, no, it would be account or stack bar graph actually. So status column is that going to be right? No, I'd probably want this to be PM as our x-axis. And then do we need a stack by? Yeah, we would need to stack by the status. So then we're stacking by the status, and then our y-axis is going to be the value. And then what I can go ahead and do is I can go to milestones. If I change this to build, I'll change, let's say, this to build as well. That will then update, and I can see here that Nick Boardman's got 450,000 build, 400,000 active, and CRM Crew Development has got $180,000 at build as well. Now, if I didn't necessarily want to have the build function, so I could just see all of the live status options, I could just untick the build status. So then if I go to milestones again, and then let's say I change this to approved, I could go back here, and it might take a second or two to just update. There we go, should be done now. So I can see CRM Crew Development's got 180,000 approved. Nick Boardman, the project manager, has got 400,000 that's active. And then obviously if there are different stages of the process, so if I then change this to, let's say, upcoming, that should then also, we might have to adjust the oh no, that works fine. So you can see that he's got 220,000 upcoming and 180,000 upcoming. So we go milestone status by PM. Cool, awesome. The nice thing about this is it takes into consideration all of the projects that that particular project manager is managing at any given time. So it would be easy to see if obviously they're going to have multiple projects that they're balancing, what the status of all of the milestones for all of the projects are. Awesome. Right, what else can we then go ahead and look at? We could have some basic stuff like milestone percentage, or milestone value by type, or average milestone value by type. So we could go ahead, how useful this is, I don't really know, but we could go ahead, put this here. We go milestone value by type. You could also even look at an average milestone value by type. That actually might be slightly more interesting. So our x-axis is going to be the type, our y-axis is going to be the value, and then we just look at an average here. So I can see that on average, the foundational complete across all of our projects where the milestones are foundational complete type is 180,000. Practical completion is 220,000 on average. And then you can see here the value, the fit out on average, all of the fit outs for all of the milestones, for all of the projects is 450,000. So again, how useful that is, I'll leave that up to you. Milestone value by type. What else have we got here? This is a treasure trove of data points that we can go ahead and track. What else would I want to see? Value, status, expected completion date. We've got the type. We could look at average time to pay a milestone by project, for example, or what actually might be slightly more interesting is the average time to bill a milestone by project manager. That could catch some people out. No, I mean that in the nicest way possible, but well, do I? Average time to bill by PM. So what does this mean specifically? If we go to settings, go to chart type, our x-axis is going to be our project manager, and then our y-axis is going to be the TTB, and then we're going to just take an average time to bill by project manager, and then the only group here that we'd really want is the build milestones group. And then I'm just going to go to our milestones and I'll change this one to build as well, and then we're going to mess around with the data points on here. So you can see here, you might not be able to see because of my big head actually, but we've got let me change this to, let's say, the first. So that's 64 days. And then I'll change this to, or I'll just move this to the group build. There we go. That's just going to update. Awesome. So now I've messed around with some data points. I'm going to go to my milestones dashboard, and I can see the average time to build by project manager is apparently both 64, which I find that relative. Well, actually, I mean, either that's sheer coincidence or there's been a mathematical error here. So I've just messed around with more data. We have a better, more accurate representation now. So average time to build by PM. So this takes all of the milestones across all of the projects that project manager is managing. And then on average, how long it takes for them to go from a new milestone added to the system to it being built, not approved, build. We could track approved if we wanted to, but I can see here on average it takes 64 days for Nick Boardman to get a milestone from a new milestone to paid for, whereas it takes CRM Crew Development, another one of our project managers, 95 days on average across all of the milestones. Again, the more data you feed into the system, the more accurate this is going to be. If you then find that there's a project manager that is taking suspiciously long to get stuff done, or it just seems slower, you can ask them. Maybe they just work on way bigger projects. But you can't track it, or you can't make assessments as to what's going on if you don't have the data. So having the data available to you is really, really important. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that I'd want to track on here. Again, I think it's just a case of we've gone through the basics: upcoming milestone amount, active milestone amount, approved milestone amount, average time to bill, milestone status by project, milestone cash flow projection. We've got average time to bill by PM, milestone value by type. We've got milestone status by project manager, milestone cash flow projection by PM, milestone cash flow projection by project. We've got a lot. There's a lot more that can be added. Again, I would also say that our milestones board is pretty basic. Hopefully it gives you an idea as to what's possible and how we can do things. But this is a basic setup. If you are a commercial GC doing between $10 to $50 million a year in revenue, and you would like systems like this to improve RFI management, improve change order management, so you're not eating the cost of the change orders and they're being billed quicker via the billing process to ensure that cash flow is better and RFI is not being missed, so your subcontractors are not sitting idle waiting for you to get back to them, and it's not costing you money or margin on the project. You want better milestone tracking, again, for just reporting purposes and cash flow purposes. And you want project management and executive dashboard support so you can see exactly what's going on at a click of a button. And you are a commercial GC doing between $10 to $50 million a year in revenue. Check out the link in the description below. Book a call with me. We can have a chat about how we can build a system like this for your business specifically, how you operate as an organization to improve the profitability of your projects and improve your cash flow. Hopefully this video has been interesting, giving you an insight into what's possible with milestone management inside of this system and how we can improve your business. Again, check out the link in the description below if you'd like to speak to me. Thank you ever so much for taking the time to watch this video. Hopefully we'll be speaking soon. Goodbye.